I think we all know Nick Saban really likes to control the narrative when it comes to the media heading into big games. We know that he has said he loves the rat poison, anything negative towards Alabama, he uses and his team use as fuel for the rest of the game. And he loves to compliment certain players, and that's something he did the other day. Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, had some positive things to say about Georgia, as he always does heading into the game. But one of the biggest things that I thought he talked about was the things that he said about Brock Bowers, Georgia's freshman tight end. And I'll get to that in a second. Ryan Curley from Dog Post here. Got you coverage ahead of the national championship game between Georgia and Alabama, and that's all going to be on dogpost.com, on this YouTube channel, on all of our social medias. Be sure to keep up with it. So what did Nick Saban say? I'll just go ahead and read it in bits and pieces. In regards to Brock Bowers, I think this guy is one of the premier players in college football. I know he's just a freshman, but this guy's got great size. He's a good blocker. He's physical. He's tough. And he's got wide receiver skills in every way, shape, or form, which makes him difficult being a bigger guy for bigger guys to cover him, and also makes it difficult for small guys to cover him. And that's really a great way to put it. And the way I like to put it is that Brock Bowers is a physical freak. What other way is there to put it? He is a freak. Brock Bowers is fast. Brock Bowers is strong. Brock Bowers can catch the football. He can run by you. He can pancake you. There's really not a limit to what Brock Bowers can do. We've seen Todd Monken and Stetson Bennett really get him involved in creative ways in the backfield, taking handoffs, taking screen passes. We've seen him catch go routes, pretty much everything post route. There's nothing I haven't seen from Brock Bowers this year. So Nick Saban hyping him up, and guess what? We already saw, in a loss, of course, Brock Bowers dominate Alabama in his own little way. I mean, they had absolutely no answer for him. Yardage-wise and catches-wise, it was Brock Bowers' best game of the year. He had tag and catches for 139 yards, tacked a touchdown on top of that against Alabama in the SEC championship loss. So obviously, everyone's going to sit here and think, well, maybe Georgia should get Brock Bowers involved again in a big way. And I totally agree with that. Why wouldn't you do that? So he was not a huge part of the play of the game plan against Michigan. The first drive had multiple catches, and he scored a touchdown on that opening drive. I mean, we saw him take a screen pass as I got a text and was reading it. I'm sorry for getting distracted, but I mean, we saw Georgia dominate Michigan without Brock Bowers being a huge part of the game plan. He had a few good plays in the first quarter, one really nice deep ball. He had the touchdown. He had a couple other quick passes, but past that, he wasn't really a big part of the game plan, and Georgia didn't need him. They may need him against Alabama. He's been Georgia's best weapon all year long. I mean, you could argue, there is an argument that when healthy, George Pickens or James Cook are better weapons, but not this year, not in the 2021 season, and what could be the 2022 national championship. Georgia's best weapon has been Brock Bowers this season, and it hasn't been close. So Alabama, they've already had to deal with them. What else did Nick Saban have to say? He's a phenomenal football player all the way around. They do a really good job of featuring his talents as well, and he's been extremely productive in a lot of ways. I know everybody always knows he catches passes, but also a really good blocker and does a good job in his part of executing whatever he needs to do to help his teammates have success as well. I mean, pretty much just reiterates what he was saying before that, but Alabama's going to be keyed in on him. The way that Brock Bowers really did what he wanted against them the first time around, I wouldn't be surprised if they double him in some cases. Here's where that's a problem. Georgia's just like Alabama. Georgia's got all sorts of weapons. Doubling one can lead to another being open. We've seen James Cook, Jermaine Burton, Adonai Mitchell, all those guys get their touches, get their action against Michigan. George Pickens is out there. Whether he's just as a little bit of a decoy or if they really want him involved and catching big plays. We've seen a little bit of both from George so far in a few games. Excuse me, in a few games this year. So it's all going to come down to a lot more than just offensive production when we talk about this game. But when you're looking at the offensive production, you got to look for your big players to step up. And we've already seen Brock Bowers do that against Alabama, which is what makes me think that he's going to be another big part of the game plan. Something that Kirby Smart was talking about the other day, actually yesterday, was that, well, I'm recording this on Tuesday, so he was talking about this on Monday. He talks about Brock Bowers has dealt with a shoulder injury all year. Well, that hasn't slowed him down at all. His year-long stats right now are 846 yards for 12 touchdowns, some of the best tight end numbers in the country. It's a shame he wasn't a Mackey Award finalist. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a Mackey Award finalist the next 2 years while he's in college. I mean, the dude could play in the NFL tomorrow. I don't know if he'd be a first-round pick, but he would get drafted if he entered this upcoming draft as a freshman. So Nick Saban praising Georgia football players, I think it's some sort of motivation. I think it makes a lot of sense. You know, Kirby Smart and Nick Saban are going to praise the other team as much as possible. That's what coaches do in these situations. But with Brock Bowers, I think the praise is definitely deserved, and I think he needs to be a big part of the game plan if Georgia wants to play better this time around. I think that's one of the things that they actually have to repeat as far as playing Alabama. Is one of the only things they have to repeat would be getting Brock Bowers as involved as he was. Dogpost.com, guys.